Times, what to expect in Starmer's first King's speech. As I cycled in today, I saw them beginning to have roadblocks and stuff for the big day on Wednesday. So, and they've got a lot of stuff. What do you think, Gemma? They've got like 25 different things.
Yeah, and I think most of it was sort of anticipated. I don't think there's any huge shocks in there, although we're going to talk about Wes Streeting later in his decision. But, yeah, I mean, here we go.
Go on, give us a cut. Give us what jumps out at you.
So we've got border security bill. So this is Labour's way now of trying to try and control or get some kind of grip on migration. So instead of the Rwanda policy, which has been binned on day one, hooray, Yvette Cooper is going to try working much more closely with intelligence agencies and giving police and prosecutors counter-terrorism-style powers. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, it is the hardest issue, of course. It's not going to stop overnight. This is good. With the economy, Labour are going to empower the Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, to publish their forecast before big fiscal events. I think that's great. We should have transparency. And that would avoid the Liz Truss fiasco. So I think that is a good thing.
Because I saw Liz Truss gave an interview at the weekend where she said Rishi Sunak had trashed her record.
Unbelievable.
Did you see that? Trashed her record.
Yeah, what record of...
Well, of 49 days. I mean, honestly, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
But this, on this, interestingly, they're bringing in the smoking thing. That Rishi Sunak's big idea was to limit cigarettes cannot be purchased by anyone who's under 15 now or any of those people in the future ever, even when they're 65. And then he called the election so he couldn't bring his own law in. And I think they've taken it over.
I think there's a lot about Rishi Sunak's decision to call the election that is open for question. I think, you know, the smoking ban is a weird thing because a lot of people, you look around just on the way to this building today, it's vaping. You know, vaping is the issue. Smoking isn't massive among young people. I think with the King's speech, it'll be interesting because Labour had a fairly cagey election policy. So for a lot of people, they'll be finding out some of Labour's plans in office. There are things which sound good. The electorate definitely liked GB Energy. Just sounded good, didn't it? But you look at it, what it is actually is an investment vehicle. And some of the claims of what it will achieve is that you could save £300 a year, but those are based on when energy bills are at their highest. So some of this will play out well with the public for now, but how different it will be from what went before remains to be seen.
Well, they're going to do the big stuff early. That's what we fight.
Yeah.
There's no better moment than now.
They were going to bring in a COVID commissioner, weren't they? Someone to go through the old contracts, which I thought would be very satisfying. Rachel Reeves was going to do that, to check, you know, who the contracts were given and try and get some accountability there. I would enjoy that very much. But, yeah, we should...
What I don't get is this devolution bill they've got, which is not about Scotland and Wales. It's basically saying councils, communities, you now decide what's going on in your area. And that's a recipe for chaos, isn't it? I mean, you get people in Nottinghamshire voting to close the A1.
Well, also, it runs against them calling in planning permission.
Well,
it seems to be a contradictory set of values. What's interesting, if you look at a lot of the places where they won, planning was a big issue. And look, I don't like NIMBYism either, but the idea that there's this zero-sum game where you just come in and impose your will and there's not an electoral consequence...
Don't we need something more Chinese here, where basically the government says, we're doing 5 nuclear reactors. I'm sorry, Colchester, Shepherd's Bush... You've got one.
I mean, not all in that one place, though.
Yeah, well, maybe that's quicker.
But changing it from green belt to grey belt does help people get this idea that, you know, it's going to be our beautiful sort of national trust land. That's not what they're talking about. There is space to build, and they have to conquer that planning challenge somehow. Back to Liz Truss, I saw someone put she she didn't save South Norfolk, let alone the West.
No, well, yes, it was a brutal night for Liz Truss, and her reaction was odd.
Unbelievable.
Just on one other thing, EU. Let's say Rachel Reeves sits down and she says, "Do you know what? I think we can get, if we go back towards it or into it, we'll get an extra 5% growth a year, right?" So, and we try and sell it. Is that worth doing, Jeff, or will that just burn them?
Well, I mean, they've said that they're not going to do that. The idea, a lot of what Labour are saying at the moment is like, we'll do some of the stuff that's already been happening, but we'll just do it better because we're Labour. And listen, there might be some sort of goodwill that goes with an incoming government. I think with the EU, the thing that could create leverage, I genuinely don't think they'll go back in the single market, but is this defence review and cooperation. I think that's where David Lammy's been looking. But, you know, 5% growth a year, I don't think one thing we've learned about the EU is they don't give stuff away. So exactly what Labour once accused the government of, which is cherry picking. It sounds like they're doing a bit of it themselves.
Yeah, whilst if Trump gets in, then we do need to have allies, because we're not going to have America anymore defending us, and Putin will be on the rampage. So I'd say it's a very good time to have slightly closer alignment with our allies.
Okay.